Isn't this soup too salty? It's too much for me. You should be more health conscious. My mom always made sure to use less salt. You really need to do better. Do you think so? I think it's just the right flavor. Don't use your standard. Think about my mom's standard. What if this affects my work? What will you do then? Well, yes, but my husband Ben is a nurse working at the clinic run by his father, and is extremely attached to his mother, constantly comparing everything to how his mother would do things, from cooking to household chores, despite not contributing himself. Here we go again, mom, mom, mom. How much can one person love your mom? After 2 years of marriage, I have become mentally exhausted by Ben's behavior, and have started to think about wanting a divorce. By the way, I've been feeling off recently because my period hasn't come. I know it's your day off, Ben, but I'm going to the gynecologist today, so just relax at home. Okay. I've been working part-time at a local bakery, which has been busier lately, often leaving little time for breaks. Since I've always tended to experience delayed periods and feel unwell when I'm stressed, I suspected I might have irregular menstrual cycles and went to the gynecologist for a checkup. I've been stressed out recently, and my period has been late again, and it's been making me feel unwell. How late is it? About 2 weeks. I see. Let's do an ultrasound and maybe a pregnancy test? A pregnancy test? Yes, if your period is more than a week late, there's a possibility you could be pregnant. Hearing the doctor's words, I remembered something. Indeed, I had experienced the same issue before and had undergone tests, but nothing was found. I was surprised to be told the same thing again. Could it be pregnancy? I was skeptical at the time, but the unexpected test result was a pregnant. Hearing that, I felt a surge of happiness, but to be honest, I was also filled with anxiety. Could I endure that lifestyle in this situation? The more I thought about it, the more anxious I became. Ben, it looks like I'm pregnant. Oh, really? That's how it is. Aren't you surprised? No, not really. It's natural for humans. If you have sex, pregnancy is a possibility. It's good, isn't it? You wanted a child. At the beginning of our marriage, we shared joy and sorrow over various things. But could it really turn so cold in just 2 years? I felt saddened by my husband's attitude. Then, 10 months later, after I had safely given birth, my husband threw even more insensitive words at me. Emma, can we get a divorce? Huh? Why? I've found someone else who makes me much happier than you do. I'm happy now. To me, who had been growing tired of my husband's mom issues and his tendency to impose his ideals, his words were actually a relief. I had been wanting a divorce for a long time, so I gladly accepted. You know, having a wife who's a nurse is great. She takes care of nutrition management and everything. A whole different level compared to you, who only works part-time. A few days after the divorce, he called me to taunt me with that. His new partner seemed to be a nurse working at his parents' clinic. When I heard her last name, something clicked. By the way, isn't your new wife's clinic the one Mr. Johnson took over after your dad? The Johnson Clinic? You're sharp. Yes, exactly, Mr. Johnson's daughter. She just finished her training and started working at the clinic this year. She's 10 years younger than me. I'm going to be their son-in-law. Oh, really? My husband didn't know that my father is the director of a well-known general hospital in our area. Nor did he realize that people in the same profession are well-connected. He had no idea that his life was about to take a dramatic nosedive, hitting rock bottom. My name is Emma. My father runs a well-known general hospital locally, and I was a nurse at his hospital for a while before deciding to pursue what I truly wanted to do, which led me to run a bakery in our hometown. I wonder if I get bored easily? I started baking because it was something I wanted to do, but now I feel like I have burnout syndrome. Once I achieve a goal, I don't feel as passionate about it. You've always been like that, sister. But isn't that fine? There are people who can't even do what they want. So I respect you for being able to take action. It's nice to hear you say that, but what do you think? Given the circumstances, don't you think you're better suited to run the bakery? Why don't you take over? Really? I've wanted to try it, and if you're offering, then I'll take it on. I handed over the bakery I was managing to my sister, Elsa, and worked there part-time, wanting a more relaxed job. It was during this time that I met my current husband, who happened to visit the store. After 3 years of dating, we got married when I was 36. I'm Emma, and I'm getting married to Ben. Nice to meet you. Are you Robert's daughter? Yes, why? Did my son say anything strange when he greeted you? What's the matter? No, it's nothing if he didn't say anything odd. At that time, Ben's father was unusually deferential to me. I was curious about his attitude, so I asked my father when I got home. He used to work under me at my hospital. So, did he lie about running a small clinic when he came for the marriage proposal? I didn't want to unnecessarily scare him by revealing my circumstances. It's fine for now, we can talk about it properly later. But shouldn't we have been clear about it at that time? It was an unexpected fact. I had no idea that Ben's father was a former subordinate of my dad's. I thought it would have been better to be upfront about the facts during the marriage proposal. But little did I know that this decision would be greatly beneficial in the future. It's funny that your marriage partner is Kevin's child. It's not funny. It's fine, it'll come out soon anyway. At that time, I was surprised by the miraculous circumstances. But once married life began, it turned into a daily hell. Emma, why isn't dinner ready yet? Sorry, I got busy at work and dinner preparation got delayed. My mom would have left work early to prepare it properly. Why grilled fish? I've told you so many times that I like fried chicken. My mom always knew my favorites and prepared meals accordingly. Sorry, I'll be more careful next time. Such complaints went on and on every day, always about what his mom would do. At first, I went along with it reluctantly. But my husband's selfishness escalated with each passing day. Where are my underwear? What? My underwear, why haven't you prepared it? I can't change without it. Well, get it yourself. Huh? It's your job to take care of things around me, isn't it? Do it properly. Aren't you mistaken about something? You're an adult, not a child, right? So? Isn't this normal once you're married? That's not normal at all, you really need to stop. What kind of way is that to speak to your husband? The audacity was too much. He began to impose his ideals on me more and more, acting as if he was the lord of the house. He wouldn't help with household chores, and when he was home, he would just lie on the sofa doing nothing. I couldn't stand his arrogant attitude. If you say something ridiculous one more time, I'm going back to my parents' house. Yeah, whatever. Do as you like. I said things like that to deflect my husband's selfishness, but his responses were cold throughout. Probably by then, his affection for me had faded. And after 2 years of not being able to visit our parents' houses for various reasons, including being busy with work, I discovered I was pregnant. It was a mystery how I could be pregnant when the affection between us had faded. And even the memory of it was vague. It seems I'm pregnant. Oh, really? That's how it is. It was sad to be met with such a cold attitude after announcing the pregnancy. I had hoped that having a child would change his feelings. But those hopes were dashed with his response. A few days after the pregnancy was discovered, a call came from my husband's family home. After taking the call, he shouted, "Why? How could this happen?" But after hanging up, he began to talk to me in a clearly depressed tone. "It seems my dad has suddenly died. Heart attack." "What? Why so suddenly?" "I don't know, Mom said it might have been from overwork." I was stunned by the sudden news. Anyway, they said to come to the hospital right away. We hurriedly prepared and headed to the hospital, but although I felt sad, there was a sense of emptiness inside me. I couldn't think of anything, feeling almost like I was going to a relative's funeral. "I'm sorry for not visiting sooner, Mary. I never imagined Kevin would pass away so suddenly." Upon arriving at the hospital and greeting my mother-in-law, Mary, I wiped away the tears that had gathered in my eyes and started speaking with a composed voice. As I said on the phone, he died from overwork. He was trying to do everything by himself. By himself? But wasn't Ben there? I suppose Kevin didn't think he could rely on him yet? That's why he kept trying to do everything on his own. Is that so? That's why Ben was able to take time off so often. I began to feel a sense of sadness. The thoughts of my father-in-law's feelings and Ben's work situation were swirling in my head. The thought that he didn't trust Ben enough to leave things to him, trying to do everything on his own, made my heart ache. "How are you feeling, Mary?" Mary had been gradually progressing into dementia over the past few years. With her husband gone, I was worried that her condition might worsen. "Mom's fine, now I have no choice but to do my best, right?" "What are you talking about? You won't be able to take over the clinic. It's in your father's will to have Mr. Johnson take over after he passed. Didn't you know?" "Huh? Is that so?" "So, I can just keep working at the clinic as usual, right?" "Yes, well, basically." Ben's face, which had been slightly annoyed a moment ago, suddenly relaxed completely. I could only feel distrust towards his attitude. "Aren't you frustrated, Ben?" "About what?" "Because it was said that you couldn't be trusted with the responsibility." "Not really, as long as I can work, that's fine. I always wonder, why is this person so disinterested in the world and so insensitive? Even when his own parents made such demeaning remarks about him, he responds so nonchalantly." Mary looked as if she had run out of patience seeing such Ben. "Are you okay, Mother?" "Yes, I'm fine. I know what he's like. I spoiled him too much." Ben's mother seems to blame her upbringing, but to me, it felt like Ben's very nature was rotten. It was to the point where I felt she didn't need to apologize at all. After the funeral, life went back to normal. And the thought of being subjected to my husband's unreasonable whims again made me feel disheartened. The taste is different from my mom's stew. "Get ready by 5 a.m. and wake me up." The unreasonable demands increased. And since the clinic's leadership changed from his father to someone else, Ben's whims were no longer indulged, leading to a stricter work schedule and more irritation from him than ever. It felt more and more like he was taking his frustrations out on me. "Ben, I'm 8 months pregnant now, you can see if you look at my belly. It's gotten quite big. Can't you start doing things on your own? I'm not your slave." "Huh? Pregnant or not, you're my wife, right? You need to do your duty as a wife. Enough already. Everything you say is about Mom. Comparing me to your mother and then imposing your ideals on me is crazy. You lack consideration for others." Our emotional clashes escalated day by day. The stress put such a strain on me that one day, in my 8th month, I collapsed from stress and was rushed to the hospital. I nearly miscarried. Despite knowing the circumstances, Ben remained indifferent and quickly left after completing the hospital admission procedures. You need to divorce that husband of yours soon. If you keep this up, you're endangering yourself. Really, if it affects the child, it would be terrible.
Yeah,
I know. I think it'll be resolved soon. I was so glad to hear my parents caring for me. I had been reluctant to say, I want a divorce myself. I don't know why I was so stubborn, but thanks to my parents, I was able to let go of that stubbornness and decided to tell my husband about the divorce the next time he visited. But something unexpected happened. He hadn't visited me at all during my hospital stay. But on the day I gave birth after reaching the 9th month, he showed up confidently. Lightly jabbing at my tired body from childbirth, Ben started talking flippantly. Emma, can we get a divorce after all? Huh? Why? I've found someone else. She treats me way better than you, and I'm happy now. Instead of me bringing it up, my husband was the one to mention divorce. And for such a reason, claiming his current life was happy. My patience finally snapped. Oh really? Do as you please, I've been wanting to divorce you too. Is that so? Sorry. I'll make sure to pay child support and compensation, let's end this amicably. What is he talking about? He thinks life will go on smoothly as before? He'd better brace himself. The stress I've endured from the time of my marriage has been greater than I imagined. Enough to harbor hatred towards my husband. After a provoking call from my husband, I learned that his current wife's father had connections with my own father. Considering this situation, I began to plot my revenge. I planned to use my father's influence to completely ruin my husband's life. Sometime after giving birth, I moved back to my parents' house with my child and left our previous home. Ben paid me about $100,000 in a lump sum for child support and compensation, believing we had amicably divorced. I discussed future plans with my father, who was somewhat aware of the situation. My father also seemed to be considering revenge against my ex-husband and made a proposal. For now, shall we pull Ben into our hospital? What? Dad, what are you talking about? That would ruin the hospital's reputation. Don't worry, we can handle that. If we really want to punish that idiot, having him close to us would make it easier to press him to his limits. What are you thinking? Questioning my father's insinuating actions, he revealed a shocking fact. Did you ever wonder whose child you were carrying when you found out you were pregnant? Now that you mention it, I couldn't figure it out. When you married Ben, it spread as a rumor among other hospitals. I heard through the grapevine that he was instructed on how to use a sperm bank. According to the rumors, he said, I want to test if it really leads to pregnancy on my wife. What? Is that even possible? That's a crime. What was he thinking? Wait, so? I suspect that bastard tried it on you. I don't remember anything like that. That seems more likely. But why? Maybe he wanted a divorce? That makes no sense. Why would getting me pregnant achieve that? He must have wanted some sort of trigger, and pregnancy seemed the most suitable. My father was furious. It was the first time I saw my calm and kind father with such an angry face. Ben had done something that was understandably infuriating to my father, and it felt inevitable that my father would want to trap Ben in return. Whether the rumor my father heard was true or not, given the pregnancy I couldn't recall initiating, I had to believe it. I felt incredibly sad. Was this pregnancy unwanted? I wondered if it was truly the destiny for this child to be born, and I couldn't stop crying. you shouldn't be sad. The child was meant to be born, that's why you had him. The child is innocent, make sure to give him a happy life. My father's words were comforting. Yes, the child is innocent. If this life was meant to be born, then I should pour all my love into making him happy. But that ignited a fierce anger towards my ex-husband for playing with life for his own sake. Dad, I'm not sure how we're going to crush him, but let's do it thoroughly. I'll also do whatever I can for revenge. Of course, I'm a doctor who's fulfilled my duties. Did you think I'd stay silent after what he did to my precious daughter? Both my father and I reached the peak of our resentment towards Ben. A few days later, as my father declared, he scouted Ben to work at his hospital. And on his first day, my father, Ben, and I had a meeting. Long time no see. It's good for you, getting scouted by this hospital. Huh? Why are you here, and? It's been a while, Ben. I'm counting on you to work well in our hospital from now on. Wait, but Robert, you said you were the head of a small clinic. Sorry about that. I didn't want to shock you then and didn't find the right opportunity to tell you the truth until today. My father exerted considerable pressure on Ben. Just a moment ago, he seemed elated about working as a nurse at a general hospital. But his expression gradually darkened, giving off an increasingly uncomfortable vibe. Yes, I'll do my best. Just remember, if you do anything to tarnish our reputation, you're out of here immediately. My father said this in a somewhat light-hearted tone, but his eyes were serious. Ben seemed to realize this and responded with a forced smile throughout. As days went by, it was visibly clear that Ben was becoming more exhausted. The attacks from a senior nurse at work and the cold treatment from colleagues due to his incompetence seemed to be taking a mental toll on him. He felt his freedom was more restricted than at his previous clinic. And he was significantly more stressed. How's it going? I've heard from others that you've been making a lot of mistakes lately. Are you getting too tired? Yes. I see. Well, it's important to take breaks, so make sure you take some time off. My father occasionally tried to boost Ben's morale with such remarks. But Ben's incompetence was worse than expected. He failed to do proper handovers before taking leave, and made noticeable mistakes in patient records, leading to complaints from patients and tarnishing his reputation within the hospital. Eventually, my father had no choice but to fire Ben. Please wait, I beg you. If I'm let go from here, I can't return to my family's clinic. You should understand by now how much you're damaging people's trust by working here, given you can barely do your job. What do you mean? I know. You were already abandoned by Mr. Johnson before coming here. With your reputation this damaged, no clinic in the area would hire you even if you applied. Please wait, I really won't have anywhere to go if you do this to me. You accepted the scout from this hospital without understanding your own capabilities. Didn't you? Please, I'll do anything, even menial tasks. Can't you just keep me here? That's impossible. Unfortunately, you're fired starting tomorrow, so don't come back. This was my father's revenge. Ben had already been given up on by his father and Mr. Johnson, who took over the clinic later. Everyone was fed up with Ben's inability to work, looking for ways to deal with him. And then, my triumphant moment began. Emma, I got fired. I have nowhere to go now. And after paying you the compensation in one lump sum, I'm barely scraping by. Plus, my mom's dementia is getting worse, I really need help. Can't we work something out? No, leave. I'm not helping. Please, I can't handle this on my own. Why should I? Don't you have a wife? About that. What about it? We got divorced. I thought so. You did to her what you did to me, right? Ben was speechless. He was beginning to understand the extent of the harm his actions had caused. Isn't this just karma? While looking down on Ben, who was now utterly defeated, I slammed some documents in front of him. This is for damages. You could have been arrested for what you did. Understand that. How do you know about this? Don't underestimate the connections in the medical industry. Everything you did to me is well known over here. After that, I contacted the clinic where Ben had gone to the sperm bank, as my father had referred me, to get the full details. It seems Ben indeed inseminated me while I was asleep to test if artificial insemination could work. After learning this fact, I gathered clear evidence, including testimonies and warnings from the clinic's doctor advising against such a dangerous act, and submitted it to the court. As a result, I was able to claim damages and slammed those documents in front of Ben. Wait, I don't have any money. Pay up. Or would you prefer I go to the police and have you arrested? Which will it be? You're kidding, right? Why is this happening to me? This is all you're doing. Can you compensate for the emotional turmoil you've caused me? Let alone understand the feelings of the child born out of your selfishness? Do you have any idea how I felt discovering the truth? Enough with the jokes. You played with human lives so carelessly, you deserve this. I don't even want to see your face anymore, just disappear. I let out all the pent-up feelings I had been holding inside towards Ben. The compassionate feelings for my child were so strong. They made the harassment due to Ben's mom issues seem insignificant. As I yelled at Ben, anger filled my eyes. But tears streamed down my face as I sobbed and vented my frustration. Ben, perhaps overwhelmed by my intensity, cowered and prostrated himself on the floor. I'm truly sorry. I now really understand how you felt and how much you had to endure my whims. I've also realized how kind you were. So please, I'm not asking to get back together, but I need some support. I've run out of money, and if things stay this way, I can't even afford housing. It's too late for anything now, please just go. I can't stand to see you anymore, I hate you, just leave. My final shout seemed to hit Ben directly, and with that force. He fell on his butt from his prostrating position. I'm sorry. He muttered in a barely audible voice, then quickly vanished from the scene like a ghost. Since then, I've cut off all contact with Ben and haven't seen him. Afterward, Ben's mother's dementia worsened significantly, requiring her to be placed in a facility. Ben, inept as ever, struggled to make ends meet with non-medical jobs, failing at every turn. Mom, I've had to sell the family home. And now I can only afford to live in a $200 rent apartment. Was I always this incompetent at work? It's so humiliating. I feel like crying. Ben appeared severely emaciated and mentally broken, clearly affected by his inability to provide or work efficiently. Who are you, calling me Mom all this time? After Ben's father passed away, his mother's dementia progressed rapidly. It worsened day by day, and recently, even though she had barely managed to recognize Ben, she finally reached a point where her cognition became so impaired that she could no longer recognize him at all. Mom, you're joking, right? The dementia has progressed this far. We heard about their dire situation through the grapevine within the medical community. Though I'd like to say Ben deserved for what came to him. Involving his kind mother made me feel guilty. Yet, all I could do was pity them, feeling frustrated that there was nothing more I could do. Despite feeling sorry for his mother, I couldn't bring myself to support Ben in any way. It's been 3 years, and Matt has grown so much. I'm thinking of moving out of this house. Are you sure? Your mother and I wouldn't mind you staying. And we'd actually prefer it if you did. My father said this, but my sister was getting married. And her husband offered to join our family as a son-in-law, considering our small family. Considering it would be inconvenient for me to stay at home, I decided to move out. What? You're moving out, Emma?
Yeah.
It's awkward to stay at home forever. Especially when your husband is so good with kids and even takes care of mine. I guess so, but I'll feel lonely without you. After that, I visited the real estate agency that had helped me when I set up my bakery to look for a property. Emma? Is that you? God? What are you doing here? This is my dad's company. No way, I had no idea. Well, Miller isn't exactly an uncommon last name, so it's easy to miss. It turned out that the real estate agency was run by the father of a close male friend from high school. He had joined the company after I had a land contract for my bakery. There's no way I could have known that. It feels nostalgic, doesn't it? How about we gather the old gang and have a mini reunion? The reunion was decided on a whim. And catching up with old friends brought back many memories and stories, making for an enjoyable time. From there, Scott and I grew closer. He listened intently to the hardships I'd endured with my ex-husband. And I ended up crying as I recalled those times. He did his best to comfort me. Sorry for bringing up such a gloomy topic and crying at the reunion. But just remembering it makes me cry. Let's stop that. I understand how you feel. Now, let's just enjoy some happy drinks. After he said that, I couldn't stop crying for a while. He hugged me, and I cried into his chest until I had no more tears left. I'm sorry, thank you. I said that and then grabbed the new beer that was ordered, chugging it down in one go. Determined to forget the past, we enjoyed the night. Scott and I started dating that day, and a month later, we had a whirlwind wedding. If you're looking for a place to live with your child, you could just move into my family's home. Let's live together. His words were a proposal. Now, we live happily in his family's home, who are well-known landlords in the area. Building a happy family life with our new child.